Black magic, black ones, mathematics, black funds, black's classic, black's fun. We get blacker in the sun, love my black ones, black future, black bonds, black's bills, black's run, black empress, black con. We get blacker in the sun, love my black ones. The will of the ancients in great devotion, cultivated the magic of making potions, the seed of the planets who birthed the cultures, the first nomadics to chart the oceans, but much more than the profit from all the slaves. So please don't tell me how to behave. This one's for the ones still in the grave. Fist up, I'm up fighting for change. Up late, working hard, going stupid. To Martin Luther King Jr. dreams looking lucid. The loudest voices in the room afraid of being muted. The power's in the truth, that's why the
Welcome, folks. Thank y'all for joining us for the Black Wealth Roundtable as a part of Black Future Month. We got a dope, amazing myriad of talent and gems that are going to be coming towards y'all today. All right, but brief introduction about Black Future Month in case this is your first time joining us. Black Future Month has been created to really be an intentional effort and month around collaborating to envision a positive and prosperous future, right? And today is Juneteenth. Shout out to our ancestors and shout out to all of our folks in the building here celebrating Juneteenth. Miss Star got her Juneteenth vest on. We see you. All right, but as we know, this is a huge nationwide international celebration of the late notification of freedom to our enslaved ancestors, specifically in Texas, but in other parts of the nation as well. But the thing that we want to talk about today and why wealth is so important is although our ancestors were freed on Juneteenth, they still didn't have the financial freedom that they really needed to create the American dream and live the American dream, right? So over 100 years later in 2021, we want to make sure that all of our folks have the knowledge needed, the tools and the resources to really live their best life and have financial and economic freedom and generational wealth to build on as well. So that's what we're going to be talking about later on today. Overview of what we've been doing for Black Future Month. We started off talking about health because health is wealth, and that is the first step into really being able to live a life journey and have your full best life. We then focused on education, specifically on our youth, but also some alternate ways of getting educated and getting informed. Josiah was on that, Brother Greer over here was on that panel and really talked about using the internet and using YouTube University as a way to get a lot of education that you might not get in the K-12 system. We're in week 3 right now, focusing in on Black wealth, and 50% of the people who registered for this event said that they had not started their wealth journey yet. Right, which is exciting for us. I think there's a lot of impact that this panel can have on those 50% of the registrants. Hopefully by the end of this roundtable and definitely by the end of this calendar year, you would have taken 1, 2, 3, 4 strides towards building that wealth for you and your family. And then we are going to end Black Future Month with Black love. On Thursday, the 24th, we have a nice little paint and sip for adults only to join, hosted by the Spill It card game. So if you have a loved one or if you're looking for a loved one, you can go ahead and join us on Thursday, the 24th. And then we're going to have a Black Love Roundtable on Saturday, the 26th. Black Future Month is powered by IMI, the Institute of Melanated Innovation, where we're giving courses out, where we're giving free community courses, and all of these recordings will also be available for free on the IMI Foundation website. And if you're looking for more information about June Black Future Month, register for future events, or just share it with a friend and a loved one, you can go to junebfm.com. That's junebfm.com to be able to register and get some good stuff. All right, it's enough about that. Are y'all ready? Right? Are y'all ready to talk about this wealth? Talk about the coins, securing the bag, all that good stuff. So today, the Black Wealth Roundtable is going to be facilitated by Star Melancon, the founder and power behind the SHEbuildingHER movement. making sure that specifically our women have the knowledge and the resources needed to be financially free, and that they have a healthy building relationship with how they use and interact with their money as well. So Star is going to be leading this roundtable. We also have MaQueba Massey, the founder of Financial IQ, helping y'all ask those intentional financial questions to your loved ones, to your family, to your kids, so that money talk becomes normal within our homes, right? And then, of course, we also have Josiah Greer, the dynamic educator and motivational speaker and leader of the Fire Your Boss community and team, where they're trying to get folks to become the champion and owner of their lifestyles and fire their boss to get that freedom. Powerful panel. I'm going to turn it over to Miss Star to lead the panel and get us started.
Absolutely. Oh, welcome. Thank you all for joining. Devon, thank you for having us. Thank you for facilitating this conversation. It is just, I mean, beyond needed at this point. It is just, I guess we all wish that this conversation had started sooner, started earlier, was more normal, was a topic of conversation, even in our homes or in schools, things like that. But we're not going to dwell on the past. We're just going to look to the future, right? And so that's why we have resources like all of the people up here and like you, Devon, for putting on stuff like this. So I appreciate this very much. And so I will say, well, my name again is Star Melancon. I'm the founder of SHEbuildingHER. SHEbuildingHER is a financial consulting agency. And what we do is we help women career professionals and high earning entrepreneurs secure their wealth through stock market investments and other wealth building tools. And as Devon mentioned, we also really put an emphasis on building and healing a woman's relationship with her money, because, mindset is, a key aspect to any healthy financial plan. And so MaQueba, Josiah, did you all want to take a second and introduce yourself before we jump into what wealth is to you?
Absolutely. I'll go. So my name is MaQueba Massey, and I am the founder and CEO at Financial IQ. And that is an e-commerce company where we sell different financial products, such as financial flashcards, planners, in the works of doing ATMs, also in the works of building a financial app. And so we want it to be your one-stop shop so that you can start understanding the psychological factors that are influencing the way that you think and behave about money. But on top of that, I am a doctoral student at Jackson State University, which is an HBCU. And there I am studying, I'm using innovation, so blockchain technology, looking at to see how that impacts financial inclusion for marginalized groups, i.e. low income individuals. So not only am I practicing, but I'm also studying and doing the research behind it. And in my previous life, before I was a researcher, I was also an accountant and an internal auditor. And so I'm mixing my practice with research and school and different things like that. And so I think that I bring a unique perspective, and I'm happy to be on this panel.
Man, I don't even know how I'm supposed to follow that. I mean, hi, I'm me, I guess. Not just so now what's going on, everyone? My name is Josiah Greer. I'm a motivational speaker, also an enrollment coordinator and outreach counselor for the EOP program at California State University, Sacramento. I wear many hats. I'm also working on my master's right now in education with a concentration of behavioral science and gender equity. So specifically just working, looking to understand the way, women have been oppressed and how we can, fight those forms of oppression in academia and just in the world as a whole, but also an entrepreneur. As Brother Devon mentioned earlier, I am a part of a team that's called FYB, Fire Your Boss. FYB Presents LLC for show, we official. But essentially what we do is we go around to various different communities and just encourage people to realize just how important it is to own yourself. We talk about ensuring that just instilling the idea that you are your own boss. I even tell people, like, when you work for a company, it's a partnership. It's not like you work, for them, you work with them. And so just encouraging that in any sense of the, any way that I can. And also, just, I'm an investor in, whether it's in stocks and real estate and different things like that. So, I mean, I wear many hats, but for today, I'm just going to say the motivational speaker. Let's go with that. An entrepreneur.
I love that. And wow, Devon, you put together a dynamic panel here. I am like so geeked right now about about this conversation and about also engaging with the audience, because I feel like the audience members, once they start asking questions, is when the magic really happens, when we're able to like kind of apply this information to like real life scenarios. So I'm very, very excited about that. So I think we'll just go ahead and jump into our very first question. The very first question is, what is your definition of wealth? And like, has it changed, like and on throughout your journey, I guess, or throughout your life, has your definition of wealth changed? And so, Josiah, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead and start. For me, I think wealth, when I was younger, it meant it's a lot different than what it looks like for me being a 30-year-old man at this point. When I was younger, I thought wealth meant having the best shoes, the newest shoes, the cleanest shoes, having maybe a nice car, some nice chains, jewelry, all of that. At that, when I was younger, that's what I considered to be wealth, because I was coming from a place without, I mean, and as I began to get older, I realized that what I thought was wealth was really a poor person trying to show that they were more valuable than what they actually were. And it's no disrespect to anybody that comes from those communities, because I'm from Richmond, California, and it's not the best environment. It's not a suburb, let's just say that, you know what I mean? It's an urban community, and so that's all that I knew. If you walked around in high school and you had a grill, or you had a chain on, or you had some fly shoes, then we thought you were rich, or we thought you were the man. Now, me looking at it as a 30-year-old man, I'll be 31 next month. Whoop, whoop. But me looking at it, so yeah, cancers, we go crazy. But me looking at it as a 30-year-old man, I'm looking back and I realize that, what wealth means is something that you can pass down to generations after you. It's ownership. But not just ownership in anything, because a lot of people are proud to own 100% of nothing. But ownership in something of value that, that won't just be valuable for you. I think, it's more passing it down to where your children and your children's children can take it. And this is why business ownership is important. And why a lot of us are seeing, more business owners and entrepreneurs, because we realize that, yes, even if you choose to go to school, and get a degree and then come back, you're still choosing to work for someone else. And so when you die, you can't pass that company on to your children. But if you own a business, even if it's on the side, then you can teach someone. So for me, wealth is just something that you're able to take and use to pass down for generations, but also use as leverage to gain you access to more wealth, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Making your money make you money. That's it.
Boom.
But no, to piggyback off of what Josiah said, to answer hopefully simplistic and a little shorter version, but to me, wealth is always growing up, I thought it was an abundance of something, and it is. It's additional. You have more than enough. And so opposite of where Josiah came from, I came from a family with, we didn't have an abundance, but we had what we needed. And I'm sure a lot of us came from families where we had what we needed, but we always wanted more, right? And so as I began to grow older and just kind of being in this industry, I started to look at the root word. And so a lot of that comes from, if you look at the root word, and it's saying my connection is poor, so I'm sorry if I'm in and out. But if you look at will, the root definition of that is well-being. And so if you have a great well-being or a good well-being, you have what you need, but then you have additional, right? And so with that being said, if you have everything you need and then some, I consider that to be wealthy. So if you need, the clothes that go on your back, you got what you need. And that could only be 5 days worth of clothing. As long as you have the clothes that you wanted to go out in, whether it be clubbing or you had additional cars, whether it was, a family only needed one, but y'all had two, that's considered wealthy. And wealth is going to look different for different people. To some, it's going to be extravagant. And to others, it's going to be very simple. All that you all, I think, need to know is that it's really having an abundance of something, and it's making sure that your well-being, whether that be spiritually, mentally, financially, like all the illies, as long as you have that, I think that you are considered wealthy.
I love that. I love that. That's definitely a different perspective than you typically hear from that question. So for me, if I were to answer the question, and Josiah, I'm from Oakland, so we probably had a very similar upbringing, uh, but for me, I always say, they call it rich and then wealthy. I call it stability and then freedom. And so for me, wealth is freedom, right? It's the freedom to make your own choices, your own decisions. It's the freedom to live how you want, whether it be, some people are very wealthy but live very minimalist lifestyles. Some people are very wealthy and live very extravagant lifestyles. It's just the freedom to do what you want. Well, not what you want, but to live, your way. And so I think for me, the definition of wealth has definitely changed over the years, because when I was younger, I did not even consider the word wealth or wealthy. It was not that it was not in my vocabulary or I didn't hear it. It just was not something that I pondered on. It wasn't something that I spent much energy trying to decipher or define. And so yes, it has, from going from 0 to 100, yes, it definitely has changed. But I think one of the pivotal moments for me was when I was in corporate, and I was making really good money, like really good money. And I realized at some point that I was making really good money, but all my peers who were really being paid supposedly the same amount I was, and same benefits, same all of these things, they were building wealth while I was just making good money. And so I think that was like the transitional pivotal moment for me, when I was like, that's weird. Like, hey, we're all making the same amount of money, but yours is like actually going a lot further, and it's creating some kind of like foundation that allows you to say, you know what, I don't like this new manager. I don't like the way he treats us. I don't like, these things that they're implementing. I think I'm going to go and look for another job. I'm like, look for another job. We're making hundreds of thousands of dollars here. Where else are you going to get that? But that's because that was my own, my own small thinking, my own, you know what I mean? But they had a foundation, a foundation where they were building wealth for themselves. And so it gave them the freedom and the opportunity to speak up for themselves, to advocate for themselves, to ask for what they wanted, to deny a job that, otherwise, a person like me would not have. So I think that, like, for me, that's what wealth is. It's just freedom, right? And so then when I take it back and I think about my kids, like both my kids, they're 2 and 10. They both have retirement plans already. And I want to give them the freedom to say, hey, I want to work here or I don't want to work here. Why do they have that freedom? Because they don't have to make sure they get a job that has the right benefits to start saving for retirement, because mom and dad did it for you. Your retirement is set. Now you have the opportunity and the freedom to say, no, I want to creatively go in this direction. I want to try entrepreneurship. I want to try real estate. I want to try these things. I don't have to get a standard structured job so that I can plan for retirement. And so for me, that's what wealth, that's what wealth kind of looks like now.
Amen. There you go.
I'm going to kind of skip around because MaQueba, you actually said something that was similar to one of these questions. And the question is, what is the difference between being wealthy and being bougie?
I don't know. I'm not bougie. Like,
No.
so I'm definitely a minimalist. Bougie is not in my vocabulary because what Fashion Nova got or Prada, Gucci got, Walmart got the same thing. So that's just not in my vocabulary, but that's just how I am. I'm very frugal, but I guess the difference between the two would be wealth is you actually have it and you have a choice to go get it. But to me, and again, I don't know because I'm just not this type of person, but bougie to me is when you have people who don't necessarily have it, but they want to look the part. And so they have to live up to a certain standard to show off to people that they don't even know that they actually got it when they don't. But again, I don't know because that's just not, it's not in my vocabulary.
The Joneses is what you're talking about.
There you go. There you go.
I hear you. Josiah, what thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously it's subjective, you know what I mean, from person to person. I personally think that I think wealthy is something I remember listening to Royce to 5'9". He said, you can only afford what you can buy 5 of. And so, and when I heard that, I was like, wow. So using that now, when I make a purchase, I say, can I afford this 5 times in cash? If I can't afford it 5 times in cash, I shouldn't be buying it because technically I can't afford it. I feel like wealth is you can afford what you can buy 5 of. I feel like bougie is it doesn't matter whether you can afford it or not. You want the best stuff. You know what I'm saying? There are some people who are wealthy who are bougie, but then there also are some people who are broke that are bougie too. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, and that's just, again, this is my personal, perspective on it, is that I think that, wealthy people choose, they have the option to say, I could buy 5 of these if I wanted, but I'm just going to settle for 1 for now. Whereas the bougie people says, I need to have one, and this has to be the most extravagant one that's available. Otherwise, it's not up to standard.
I'm 100% there with you both. The Migos told us, wasn't that the Migos told us Broken Bougie? Is that a song or no? It is, right? I think it is.
Bad and bougie.
Oh, it's bad.
I was just like, bro, there you go.
Oh man, that's funny. So if you have a definition on the difference between wealth and bougie, please feel free to drop it in the chat. We would love to hear them. Because I guess this is a very subjective question, which is why I wanted to ask it, because I'm like, I don't know. I'm kind of with you both. It's like, I don't even know really how to define bougie. So yeah, I'm kind of blank on that one. I don't know. Bougie, I really don't know how to define bougie. I don't know if it's kind of like showboaty or if it's actually like I'm about to spend my last to get this designer thing because I just have to have it. So showboaty is fine.
Queen, one thing I will say is we all pretty much agree that bougie is a flex for show.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
All right. Okay. I'm with you there. I'm with you there. So then if that's the case, then for me, if you got it and that's how you celebrate yourself, fine. If you don't, and you trying to, like MaQueba said, keep up with the Joneses, that's a problem. And we're gonna need to do some healing up in this area right here to get you, to get you where you need to be. Okay, so the next question would be, along both of your wealth journeys, because I know, MaQueba, you are like 10 toes down in this wealth world, in terms of all of it. Yeah, I mean, resource on top of resource on top of resource. Just like, I know that you mentioned that you are investing, you're an active investor in different sectors. So along your wealth building journeys, to get you to where you are, what kind of shifts did you have to make? Or was this something that you grew up talking about, or was it instilled in you early on? How did that go, your wealth building journey?
Josiah, I'm gonna let you hit that one because I'm gonna need to go on mute real quick.
So you're saying, how was the wealth building journey? Like, what is that?
Or if it wasn't something that was instilled in you early on, but now you're here, and you see value in investing and things like that. Like, what was that shift that happened that took you from, I want the latest J's, to I want to own that property and buy these stocks? Like, what was that shift that happened?
I think, it's hard for me to say this without talking about where I'm from. You know, growing up in Richmond and started, obviously being from Oakland, I used to go to Oakland all the time as well too. I was actually born in Oakland, so it's Oakland for life for sure on that. But growing up where I'm from, it's tough to even think of what life would be like past a certain age period, because so many people that we know don't make it to this point. So I'd be lying if I said I always had the idea that longevity, in regards to wealth. I never really thought like that. I thought the only way to become wealthy was through sports. Obviously I did sports in high school. I did get kicked out of high school too, but that's when the kind of like the reality had to set in, like, okay, bro, you're probably not going to, make it to the professional world if you're getting kicked out of high school trying to play sports. So that's when I had like the reality check there. But going to college and even still getting, in my undergrad, I still wasn't thinking, I was like, oh, I'm just be a lawyer, and lawyers make a lot of money, and so I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I could do that. For 6 figures is no problem. But I never really thought about what it was like to be wealthy. Even when I thought about being a lawyer, it still meant working for someone, full time, and not necessarily thinking about ownership of anything. You know what I mean? I was just like, I'm gonna be a lawyer. I'm gonna be, public defense attorney, and I'm gonna help everybody get the right types of, cases and, cleared and things like that. And again, that kind of stems from where I'm from too, seeing so many people go to prison for small crimes, you know what I mean? And doing, 5-10 year bids for, for marijuana or something like that. Of course you're like, I want to be able to have, be a good attorney to help. But what I will say is, when I hit about 25, 26 years old, one of my old track coaches, I ran track in college, and he, sorry, my dog is scratching itself and it's got a collar on, but that's hear the change noise. But he met with me and he talked about life insurance. And that was the first time in my entire life I'd ever had someone had an in-depth conversation with me about life insurance and what life insurance was, what it meant, and what it could do. And that's when I started. Part of me was frustrated because I said, here I am, a 26-year-old man. I have a pretty big family. I got 10 siblings. You know what I'm saying? I'm the youngest boy. I was the first to go to college, first to graduate from college. But why is it that, me having so many older siblings, me having such a big family, why is it that this is the first time I'm ever hearing about life insurance and what it can do for your future, for your generations? And that's when it started to click, like, hold up. You're actually working your entire life for someone. And then if you die, what do you leave for your children? And that's when it started to click, like, okay, you have to be able to do something that will be able to, that you can hand off to your children and make their lives just a little bit easier. It's not to say that, everybody has, $1 million life insurance policy, and so when they die, their family's millionaires. But what it does mean is that when I leave this planet, when I leave this earth, right, which is inevitable, we all have, a time that we're going to decease. My family will struggle emotionally, but I have the choice to make sure that they won't struggle financially. You know what I'm saying? And that's ultimately when I said, okay, we have to start looking long-term into what this means. And I see that Stephanie said, can I talk more about life insurance? I'll just briefly talk about it. Life insurance essentially is when you pay a monthly fee to a particular company, and that fee can be, there's different types of life insurance. There's whole term life, there's a whole different variety of different life insurances, but essentially what it is you're paying a monthly fee to a company. And so that when you do pass, your beneficiary receives a particular sum. Now, with this company, you can invest a certain amount. And then they may have, like, if I pay $50 a month for $500,000 life insurance, over my lifespan, I may never reach 500,000 that I've actually deposited to this company, but because I've carried this payment plan for so long, they're going to invest the rest of it when I do eventually pass. So that's in a nutshell what life insurance is. But I want to give Queen MaQueba a chance to answer this question as well too.
Can I bounce in there really quickly? Just because insurance, I'm super passionate about. Like the stock market is my jam. Like that is what, that's my baby. But when it comes to insurance, I think that insurance is literally the backbone of wealth. And so I just recently in my community had what we called a wealthy wine down, where we had wine and we talked about how to build wealth and limit tax liability using insurance. And so I just want to give you 4 takeaways from that class while we're just on the subject of insurance really quickly. And so you might want to get a pencil and a paper out because you will end up talking to your insurance professional about this. And so just there's a many, like Josiah said, there are many different types of insurance. But when it comes to term life insurance in terms of building wealth will pay off assets. So a lot of us are here and we're working like a dog to make sure we pay off, the house and this and that, because we don't want to leave these debts to our kids when we pass away. So if you get a term life insurance policy, you can get it for the amount of an asset that you want paid off. And so when you pass away, that insurance policy will pay off that asset. So that's the first one. The next one is going to be like a whole life insurance policy, which there are many types, as he said. This particular one is called an IUL, which is an Index Universal Life Policy. And I want you guys to understand that has a very high cash accumulation attached to it because the policy itself is attached to the stock market, but it also has a floor so you don't lose money on it, right? And so with that, when you hear people talk about family banking and borrowing against themselves, because you might get to a point where you want to borrow money, but you don't want to go to a traditional institution like a bank because you don't want, or you don't want to borrow from your 401k because you have penalties, taxes, all these things. And so these particular types of whole life insurance, they have a cash accumulation portion to it. And so you can eventually down the line start borrowing against your own policy without penalty and tax and then paying yourself back. So then there's another one called long-term disability insurance or long-term care insurance. And so we know that 1 out of 4 people in their career will become disabled, right? And a lot of people don't take into account what will happen to their lifestyle or their cash flow if they become disabled, or if they're one of the breadwinners in the house become disabled. Long-term care insurance basically says, hey, if I become disabled, they will pay for my needs, they'll meet my insurance to pay for the rest of my needs, but they will also, they also have a way of paying you out over a long term. So just ask your insurance professional about that. So long-term care can secure your cash flow and your lifestyle in an event that you become disabled. And then the last one is called annuities. Annuities is going to be a contract between you and an insurance company. You tell them, hey, in retirement, I want to receive a salary of X amount of dollars, being a paycheck every month for X amount of dollars. And they'll say, okay, for us to pay you that in retirement, this is how much you have to pay into the contract, and we'll pay you interest on top of it, right? And so what'll happen is you'll set up this contract between you and an insurance company, and at a target date, which is a certain age, usually after 59 and a half, if you stay current on this policy, they will just pay you every single month a check, which is called an annuity payment, which is the actual cash from the annuity payment is tax-free, and then the interest is tax deferred. So I just want you guys to go and ask your professional about that. A term insurance policy to pay off assets, a whole life to borrow against, and then long-term care to secure your cash flow if you become disabled, and annuities to pay you a salary in retirement, okay? Now, MaQueba, you go ahead. What is, which one were we talking about? Oh, I
The
wanted
revelation.
to know.
Can you answer the questions in the chat first? There's, I
Me?
think, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't even have the chat up. I just have y'all
Oh.
pictures up. Let me see. Hold on.
It's one of them is, what is IUL again?
So we're going to try to stick with the topic of this particular roundtable, which is just building wealth and financial literacy, instead of going super, super deep into any one topic, because as you guys know, finance is vast, right? That's like asking a credit person about credit, a tax person about tax, insurance, stocks. It's so much that goes into it that I would just say, hey, if you need a referral, hit me up. I will give you a referral to an insurance professional. And otherwise, if you already have an insurance professional, go ahead and ask them about those 4 key types of insurance. And I'm sure they'll be happy to explain them to you. Okay, were they all, MaQueba, were they all about insurance?
Yeah, she was just asking, what does IUL stand for?
Oh, it stands for Index Universal Life, right? So the life part means it's a life insurance policy. The index part means that the policy itself is connected to the stock index, right? So if you ever heard S&P 500, Dow, things like that, those are stock indexes. So the Index Universal Life is a life insurance policy that's attached to a stock index.
My bad, y'all. I didn't mean to open up a whole can of worms like
I know.
that. But that was my revelation time though. When I heard about it, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, no, when you mentioned it, I was like, okay, now we're about to really get in here and make some magic now, because you really like speaking, you speaking. So okay.
Give the people what they came for. That's fine. That's fine. No, but I remember the question. It was when you made the switch.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And so I really don't think I ever had a switch. The switch was, I feel like, always on for me. And so my household was very divided. Like, my mother does not know a thing about money and cannot keep money in her pocket to save her life to this day. At this time. Now, my dad, on the other hand, he invests not much. He's not much of a risk taker, but he knows the basic. He knows how to keep up, and he knows what he needs to do. And so all along, I was taught the value of money. But at the age of 19, when I was in high school, I think I applied to some program, ended up getting accepted into to be a student advisor, and on a bank's advisory board. And so they taught us everything about money. But then once I graduated college, I ended up getting a job. I was in accounting. And so this is my background, live and breathe it. I was actually teaching financial literacy courses. I was doing things myself. But I did make a switch from corporate America to go back to school. And so my life, I feel like, it's very different. I'm in a really odd stage right now, because when I was starting off, just like out of college, I had a good job. I was making like $65,000, absolutely loved what I was doing. But then I was just like, this is just not it. I worked at one of the largest big 4 accounting firms, and I was just giving everything, like my Black knowledge, my Black expertise, my Black experience. I was just giving it all away to a white company. And so I was just like, I need to figure out exactly what I need to do. Like, what is it that I want to do? How can I give back to my community and really reach back, lift as I climb? And so the answer was getting a PhD. Well, with that, and Devon knows this story, but I'm gonna try to tell it really quickly. But getting a PhD in business, this is the only doctoral program in the entire world where they will pay you to go to school. You don't have to pay them to go to school. So it's very intense to get in. Now, I'm at a HBCU. Everybody knows the financial struggles that HBCUs have gone through. And so with that, I was not going to get paid as much. My school was getting paid for it, but it wouldn't be as much. And so I literally went from making like $65,000 to $10,000. And so like, I'm thankful that I had that background and experience and I knew what I needed to do because I've been teaching this all along. But at this time, it was just like, okay, now you living through it. So like, what's up? You gonna come through or like, what you gonna do? And so thankfully, I've been able to show up and nothing, absolutely nothing has changed for me. And I am literally going through this right now. Like I'm in year 3 out of 4, got one more year. And so literally what I teach the people that I have is exactly what I'm going through. So they're able to see it from a real life perspective, outside of what they've seen it themselves from. And so I wouldn't say that I ever had a switch to where I turned on like that financial light bulb, but the switch came when I really had to put my feet to the pedal and be like, okay, this is your life now. So what are you gonna do about it? So that would be my story.
I love that. Literally love that. Did you go to an HBCU for undergrad?
Not for undergrad, for master's, and now my doctoral program.
Okay, perfect. I love that. Yeah, wow. If you let me, I want to ask, oh, I don't think I have a poll, but I want you guys to let me know in the chat if you all have started your wealth building journey. Like, are you brand new and you trying to figure out where to start? Or are you at a moment where maybe a shift just happened for you and you like the light bulb went off and you're like, okay, no, this is, this is what I need to do. So let us know in the chat if you're in the audience, where you are in terms of starting out or if a shift has already happened for you. I would say just kind of going back in terms of my shift, it definitely happened in corporate America. Like I said, I think it was one of those things where like I was there, we were all in offices next door to each other. We were all on paper, same position, making similar money because, I was the only Black person there. So obviously there's these discrepancies in pay and things like that, but they said we was all making the same amount and all this kind of stuff. And then realizing that they were, oh, good, thank you for the poll. Realizing that my friends and co-workers, colleagues were building wealth while I was just making good money. And I think the shift happened when I had to look in the mirror and say to myself, like, Star, you're a statistic. Like, as hard as we fight against being the thing that people label us as, I was that. And that was hella hard to look in the mirror and be like, no, Star, you are the statistic that they're talking about. Like, you don't know what you're doing with your money. You are doing this and that and doing all the wrong things and living by this really YOLO kind of mentality. And that's just where the shift happened because it took a huge like it hit my self-esteem. It my everything just took a hit, and I started feeling like I wasn't worthy of even having like these kind of friends or having these kind of conversations or sitting at these different tables or being in these different rooms with different people. And so I had to put on my big girl pants and be like, okay, well, listen, you about to go at this thing all the way, because what you're not going to do is sit up there and try to list 10, 17 million reasons as to why you are in this position right now. Like, no, we ain't doing that. The past don't matter. We all the way, you know what I'm saying? And so that was just me. I was just like, no, I'm not about to beat a statistic, even though I'm looking in the mirror at a statistic, literally. It's not going to happen. And so that was the shift for me. It was just like, I just couldn't take it. I couldn't take being around all of these white people and all of these Asians, knowing that the thing that they labeled me as, I was actually it. It was killing me. I'm like, because I'm only a Black person here, and I just can't do this. I can't stand for this. So that was my shift. And it's been on and popping ever since. I just never let off the gas because I just can't afford to. And so that's just kind of where we are at the moment. I saw that you put a poll up. I don't know how to look through these polls, but I see they keep popping on the screen. Let's see, it says, have you started your wealth journey? 60% says yes, 20% says, 40% says no. Okay, I like that. I don't know if there was another poll or not. Poll is closed. Okay, perfect. So that means that most of you guys may have had a shift in. If 60% of the people here says, yes, I've started my wealth building journey, then I would love to know what your shift was. And we'll kind of talk about that in a little bit once we open up the floor. Let's see. Let's kind of pivot a little bit. I know we've been talking about wealth, but let's kind of pivot just a tiny bit into generational wealth. So MaQueba, I know that you make the flashcards and the resources and the tools. And so you are obviously like head first into this whole generational thing, right? And so I would like to know, let's see, in your perspective, how is generational wealth created?
Oh, that's a loaded question. It can be created in it can be created in so many different ways, but a way that I feel as if we should start, and then I'll let Josiah pick it up from there. But I think that we should first start. One of the issues within the community is the lack of conversations that we're having, just around generational wealth in general. Well, when people ask us how much money we make, we be like, y'all need to know our personal business. We don't like to share what our credit score is. And I'm not saying that you have to share this information, but if I was to ask y'all on this call, how many of y'all know what your grandfather's credit score was? How many of y'all knew what your grandmother made? 9 times out of 10, we don't know. And that's a real problem. And that's where and how we start generational wealth. We need to understand where we came from, what our family did, and put a stop or a plug into where it's leaking. There should be no reason as to why our kids or why we don't know what our grandparents made, or our kids not knowing what we made, or what we're currently doing with our money. And just looking at like the data and the things that I have been studying, a lot of us don't talk about it because we are ashamed. We're either shy or it's just simply not normal. But then you have to go and see, okay, well, why is it not? And then it's just like, some people will say, well, I'm not really good at it, or I don't know how. And so they just won't talk about it. Well, how many of y'all have ever not known something and then not either you didn't research it yourself or you didn't ask about it? You have to start having these conversations. Like, if you want to know something, you have to, like, it starts with a conversation. And even the people who did know on the surveys, but they was just like, yep, my credit score is good, I make a lot of money, blase, blase, but they still weren't telling people. And the one of the main reasons for that was because they didn't want other people to know what they was doing. They felt like people was going to catch up to them, start doing the same thing they were doing. But we have to understand that all of our walks are going to be differently. And so whether we're doing something bad or good, we have to share those experiences so that we actually can start to have those conversations and start building generational wealth. Now, how exactly we do that? So many ways. That can be through home ownership. That can be through insurance. That can be through starting businesses with our family or ourselves, partnering with our community, buying property and starting our own communities, whether it be stores, It can be gas, like it can be the whole shebang. But I'll stop there because I know that Josiah is probably going to pick up and give y'all a little bit more about the how-tos. But it definitely starts with a conversation. And if y'all aren't having conversations, y'all definitely need to start. And it can be simple questions like we're having on this call today. What is wealth? Do you know what financial independence is? What is money? Do y'all know what an ATM actually stands for? Like it can be simple questions, but you have to start having them.
Man, yeah, that was dope. I don't know what to say. I mean, definitely, Queen MaQueba was right. The conversation, that's very key. I mean, I literally never thought about the idea that I never knew how much my grandparents made. And, my great grandparents, I never knew how much they made. So, I mean, I'm mind boggled already just by, you stating, putting that out there. And it's funny because the only reason I know how much my mother made was because I needed her information for financial aid for FAFSA. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't even know how much she made. So I think you're absolutely right. It starts with a conversation, and that's ultimately what happened with me as well, is that once I started, having conversations, I was able to see, okay, well, where we're headed. You know what I mean? For instance, if great grandma made, $10,000 a year, and grandma made $10,000 a year, and mom made $10,000 a year, well, then now I can say, okay, they never had improvement. You know what I mean? They never changed. So what am I willing to do to change? What did they do to only make $10,000? And of course, I'm just using this as a round number, but what did they do to make sure that they didn't get more? You know what I mean? Because there's always, one thing I know is that America, it's a capitalist world. So there's always going to be a way to make money. That's for sure, because that's what we're built off of, is making money. So then the question just becomes, okay, well, what are you willing to do to make sure that you're not in the same position that your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents were in to make that money? And I'm sorry. So I just want, what MaQueba said was A1. I actually forgot what the question was because I was so focused on that. Like I was just like, whoa, steps. You know what I'm saying? What was the question again, Queen Star? I apologize.
The question was, how do you believe what, in your perspective, how is generational wealth created?
Okay, yeah. So I think that, in my opinion, it's something that you're able to have ownership of and to pass down. And like, MaQueba said, it's done in a variety of different ways. Like she said, it can be ownership. If you own a home, and you own that home for 30 years and you pay it off in your 30 years, let's say you buy a home at 25, you pay it off. And so by, at what, 65, you know what I mean? Or 25, so 30 or 55, at 55, that's 30 years, your home is now owned. And let's say you pass away, you give that home to your child. Well, now that child doesn't have to pay rent or a mortgage because the home is already paid. So the money that they make is going towards the taxes on that home. And then the rest of it is going towards the community in whichever way that they feel is necessary. So maybe they say, hey, listen, since I don't have to pay for rent or I don't have to pay a mortgage, I'm going to use that money that I already, because I'm going to work, right? I'm going to use that money now to then, leverage it in some other way, shape, or form. And maybe I'm going to buy another home for myself and rent out my parents' home. So now that becomes a specific income. So for me, I think it's a variety of different ways. I think the easiest way, in my opinion, is life insurance. That's the easiest way to start generational wealth. It's basically saying, hey, listen, for $50 a month, for $50 a month, I'm going to pay, $1 million in life insurance so that when I die, which again is inevitable, every single person that is born is going to die. Guaranteed. That's the one. If I was a betting man, I'd bet my last dollar on it. Right. So you're going to die. So the question then becomes, what are you leaving for them? And so life insurance, I think, is a great way to start, because it's like, hey, listen, if I have $1 million policy and when I die, which I know I will do, my family's going to have $1 million. You know what I'm saying? Now, of course, that assuming that you have no other debt or anything like that, but yeah, my family's going to have that income. And then when they get older, they have that same policy. So now their children have it. And so I think that there's a variety of different ways for, I think that, ownership of property, life insurance, are two of the biggest keys, I think, that people are able to pass down. I mean, I think real estate has made the most millionaires in America anyway. So having ownership of property or of something that you can use to leverage and make more money, I think is going to be how generational wealth is created, in my opinion.
Perfect. I hope my internet is not too shaky right now. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, it says my internet is unstable. So I love both of those. I do want to just give a quick tip, kind of piggybacking off of what MaQueba said in terms of the conversations. So a lot of times when I'm working with clients, I have both sides of the coin, right? So I have some women who are super ashamed of their financial situation, and so they don't want to talk about it. And then I have some women who are actually doing really, really well, but don't want to talk about it because either A, they don't have a circle of people around them who are equally yoked, and so they don't want to feel like they're bragging, or they don't have a circle of people around them that are equally yoked. So every time they say any positive things about their money or financial status, they get asked for help. So there's like both of those women, but the tip that I always give is like, hey, it's okay to set boundaries. You should ahead of time, if you know that talking about money and finances is really uncomfortable for you, what you do is you write down a list for yourself of the things you are okay with talking about and the things you are not okay with talking about, right? And then the things that you are not okay with talking about, you come up with a clever rebuttal, or not rebuttal, but I usually say rebuttal, like a clever rebuttal in terms of how to, just kind of dodge the question in a polite or, a polite way and steer it back towards the things that you are comfortable talking about. So it's almost like how, celebrities are prepped before they go down a red carpet. So if they get asked anything that's uncomfortable, they know how to kind of, go ahead and switch the thing up and get it back to a place where they're comfortable. Like if you know that you don't want to get caught off guard, or if you get defensive when someone asks you certain questions, list out your answers, right? List out the answers that you have to certain types of questions, and then list out the stuff that are like no-goes for you and how you're going to respond if those kind of questions are brought up, and how you're going to respond in a healthy way. So that's like the very easiest way to kind of get the conversation going and still stay within your own boundaries, because the worst thing to do is have a negative experience talking about money because you'll never do it again, right? Or someone asks you about money because they're trying to step out of their comfort zone. Maybe they're not doing that great financially and they want to come to you, and they don't know that that's a trigger, or they don't know that they're asking you something you're sensitive about, and you respond in a hasty way. And now they're like, oh, I'll never ask anybody else about that again. And so now they shut down, right? They'll never do it again. So to have those healthy exchanges is just always good to set boundaries. But for me, when it comes to how I believe generational wealth is created, this is going to seem super simple, but my number one how to create, or what to do to create generational wealth, is to simply define what generational wealth is to you. I ask people 24/7, they come to me, Star, I need a consultation. I need you to work with me. What? Okay, cool. I'm here. We here. What you want to do? I want to create generational wealth. I'm trying to build generational wealth. I'm trying to have something to pass on. I'm like, okay, back it up. When we say, let's put a bracket around something, what are you trying to pass on, right? Because generational wealth is not a one size fit all situation. Some people want to pass down a business. Some people want to pass down real estate. Some people want to pass down cash. Some people want to pass down insurance, stocks, whatever it is. You just need to define what is generational wealth to you, so then you can start moving toward that goal, right? If we're all trying to get to this place, this arbitrary place that nobody has defined, you'll be on a hamster wheel, just running, doing, but not ever feeling like you're getting there. You never feel like it's time to celebrate yourself because you have not put a goal in place as to what generational wealth is, right? And so just define it, write it down, let yourself sit with it, marinate on it, you know, and then you can start moving in that direction of in whatever it is to you. And so that would be my, you know, response to how generational wealth is created. And I also want you guys to know that teaching your kids, I don't know how many people are parents on here, but teaching your kids about money, you know, is just as important as buying them real estate, saving for them, buying them stocks and all these other things, right? Because what is the statistic? I think 60% of, what does it say? Like a family will lose 60% of its wealth by the second generation and 90% of its wealth by the third generation. And they always say like, okay, so could you imagine doing your part and I'm doing all these things only for my grandkids to squander it away? Like I would be in my grave pissed off. Like really, you know, so talk to your kids and teach them about what needs to go on. Okay, quick question, one word answer. Okay. MaQueba, what is something that you wish you learned sooner in terms of wealth?
I don't know. There's so many. One word.
Not one word. Okay, one thing.
Okay. Okay. Something that I wish I learned sooner as it relates to financial wealth. I wish I would have learned exactly how to go about doing it. I'm really big on home ownership and like real estate and property. And I'm just now getting started to where I'm starting to learn the ins and outs of it. So
So
I wish
now
I would
that
have done that.
so now that you've started on that journey, like what is the one thing about real estate that you wish that you had learned sooner?
Oh, just for simplicity,
Yeah.
how it really, how much it appreciates in value, and how much of tax deductions, I don't know if it's tax credits, tax deductions, but however it helps you with taxes,
Limit your tax
that's
liability.
yes, that's key right there. And so I'm really big on not having to pay taxes like Trump. And so that may be the way. And I'm just now starting to learn that process.
I like that. I thought you was gonna say something like how much less money it requires than people think. I think everybody thinks
Very
like,
true.
I gotta have 17 bags of cash in the garage to buy a house. Like, do you?
Not at all.
Josiah, how about you? One thing, what is something that you wish you would learn sooner?
Credit.
Yeah.
Simply put, for me, I'm learning that credit is more valuable than gold. And I think that had I known that, you know, when I was 15, 16, I think that I would have had a different output or a different perspective on the things that I purchased, what I purchased, how, you know, whether it was the bills that I was putting off, you know what I'm saying? Because I was like, forget them. They ain't gonna get no money from me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think for me, I'd have to say, you know, credit. And then the other thing I would say is just taxes. You know what I mean? I think it's very important for me, understanding, you know, similar to, you know, Queen MaQueba, I'm fairly new to understanding real estate and and understanding the how that works in regards to taxes and write-offs and things like that. Because I too am trying to be like former President Trump and not have to pay anything in taxes. In fact, I want to be like Amazon and get a refund check. So just understanding how how owning a business or owning property can affect you. So, but for me, the one thing I really wish I would have known more about was credit, how to build credit, how credit affects you. And I went through smaller things of that like in high school, but it wasn't stressed enough to me. I'm blessed that someone even mentioned the idea of credit when I was in high school. But I wish I would have got more in-depth counseling about the importance of it, what it means, and not just like a one-day program, but I mean like a every month, every week, you know, I should have had some type of information about credit, the importance of it, how to establish it, what tax write-offs mean, what that can mean for you in the future. What mean, you know, if you have $10,000 in cash, you know, if you have $10,000 in cash, but you have $100,000 in available credit, which one is more valuable? You know what I mean? So I really would have liked to know the importance of credit.
Love that. I have two more questions. I think my quick answer would be stocks. I wish I had known about stocks earlier. I wish I would have started investing earlier. Um, for me, my whole thing is time is more valuable than money when it comes to the stock market. So the longer you allow it to sit and appreciate and compound, the better off you are. So I wish that I had known about stocks, even if I would have messed up my credit, even if I would have did all the things that I did do, I still wish I would have had some stocks sitting in the background and working for me over the last however many years, you know. That would have just been a game changer for me. Okay, two more questions. One is, and we'll start with you, Josiah, this time. What are, give me a couple of like healthy financial habits and tell me your idea. So let's say two. Give me your idea of like two healthy financial habits and maybe some solutions in terms of how we can really start incorporating them into our culture.
I think one that I'd say is credit card use. I mean, I know, like, I think someone said earlier, they tell you to get a credit card or get a credit card and use it, but you know, having a specific purpose for that credit card use. So for instance, I have a credit card that I specifically only use for gas. And every month I'll pay that credit card off down to zero. So the balance is zero. So I know that the credit, that way it's establishing good credit. This person here is able to, no matter what, to pay that balance down to zero. And you do that over time. And then credit companies are looking at you. Of course, the credit card companies hate you because they're like, man, we're not making any money off you. But the credit over what you're establishing is that you have a good payment history. If you have a good payment history, more people are willing to let you borrow money. Just think of it like, I try to take it to the streets, right? It's like, you know, somebody come up to you and be like, yo, let me borrow $5. But if they know around the neighborhood as a crackhead, you know they're never going to give you back that $5. So you're going to say, nah, bro, I'm not going to give you $5 because you're going to go smoke this rock and I ain't going to get my money back. You know what I'm saying? And then I got to chase you every time I see you and I'm not catching you. You feel me? So, but if it's a person, you know what I'm saying, who you know have, you know, they have a nice car, a nice house, whatever, they're like, hey, bro, shoot, man, I'm at the gas station, bro. I forgot my credit card, bro, or my debit card. Hey, bro, can you lend me $5 to pay for this drink real quick? Oh, yes, good, bro. Go ahead, don't trip, because I know that you're going to pay me back because you've shown over time based on what you have. So it's the same thing with credit cards. It's like, bro, you pay, you know, you use it for a specific purpose, but just pay it down so that way that you can have a credit card history. I don't care whether you're, you know, your credit limit is $300. You know what I'm saying? Now you understand that you probably shouldn't go, you know, over 30% of that, you know what I'm saying? But even if that was 30% of $300 is $30, you know what I'm saying? Or am I right? Is that math right? $90. There we go. I wasn't good at math, but you know what I'm saying, but 30% of that, you know what I'm saying, right? So then, you know, that's your limit right there. You know what I'm saying? And I'll say this, you know, and I'm just speak, you know, like freely, like my credit was terrible 2 years ago. Like I'm talking about like 5 something, terrible 2 years ago. But I took the time to build it back up, you know what I'm saying, to where now it's over 700. You know what I'm saying? It took time. I had to literally invest in intentionally paying off old bills, intentionally making sure that my credit card, like when I first got a credit card when I was in college, terrible idea, because I didn't understand the importance of it, used it all up and messed up my credit. So then the second credit card that I got, I was a 26-year-old man, and they was like, listen, your credit limit is your limit is $370. You know what I'm saying? So I had to make sure that I didn't spend over a certain amount, but I just used it consistently and paid it off to where now they say, okay, well, we can increase it to 500, and then we can increase it to 1,000, and then we can increase it to 3,000. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to take that time.
So let me ask you, in your journey of building your credit, like what is something that you would say you got from your journey that you think is like tangible enough to like really encourage people within our culture to start doing now? Like, now, because you've gone on this journey to take you from A to Z, right? So out of those things that you had to do, is there anything that's tangible enough for you to say, hey guys, this is one thing, if you don't do anything else, this is one thing that you can do that will, save or build your credit? Like, is there just like something tangible enough? Because within our culture, the mindset is it's a hurdle to get over. So is there like something that you think that we could introduce into the culture that would kind of just ease, just put into our culture to really, really, really encourage the importance of credit or anything like that?
One thing I would say is we have to be conscious about our spending. I remember I was in like high school and I went to this big church. My mom's a huge church person. So I grew up a lot, going to church. And so there was a sermon that we went to where a professional singer, Pastor Marvin Sapp, was preaching at this sermon or whatever. So I went, and I remember he said he'll never forget that people beg for what they want and then work for what they want and then beg for what they need. I'm saying work for what they want, beg for what they need. So what I say is we have to be conscious about our spending. So for instance, if your credit score is crap, but you got the brand new J's in, it's not smart. You know what I'm saying? Because what you're doing is you went out and you worked hard to get those brand new J's, but then you're going to say, hey, man, they won't give me a loan for a house. Man, they messed up. They doing me shady. Nah, bro, you spent your money on the wrong thing, on what you wanted as opposed to what you needed. So first off, we have to be conscious about what we're spending and the value that it brings to our family. That's one.
But in our life, you're from Richmond, I'm from Oakland. That is not going to get us anywhere. Preaching to people about the stuff that they doing wrong,
right,
and trying to convince people that the material things that they're spending their money on is pointless and that they should be doing blah, it doesn't get us anywhere.
Right. I think so it takes a while. Yeah.
Take it to the streets. You there, your friends that you grew up with, y'all hanging out. If you could tell them one thing that you think could get them excited, like it could be as small as like, for instance, credit. My son has a kid credit card, like a green or not green dot, green light card, right? Like that gets him excited about like that. I can teach him that way. But if you were talking to grown people and you were like, bro, do this. Like, is there anything that because we all know that you preaching to the choir when we trying to really, they don't listen. Yeah.
And I think that, they haven't in the past, but the way I approach it, I even do this in my motivational presentations that I do. I tell them, listen, you gonna get roasted no matter what. You can either get roasted as a kid or you can be roasted as an adult, and you're gonna be an adult way longer than you're gonna be a kid. So if you want to pay for those J's, no problem, bro, because you don't want to be roasted at your high school or you don't want to be roasted at your college. Hey, bro, that's all good. Just know for the next 60 years, you're going to be one of those people that's getting roasted because you spent your money on that. You know what I'm saying? But I do think another thing that I was going to bring up is making their children authorized users on their credit cards. You know what I'm saying? That is very, very important, which means you get a credit card in your name and then have your child as an authorized user. So every time that you swipe and you pay your credit, you're actually building their credit before they even recognize it. So then when they get older, they already have an extremely high credit score because of what you did. Now, I say that, and the reason why I prefaced it by saying spend wisely, because if you make your child an authorized user and you're not buying the right stuff or you're not paying down that credit, then you've messed up their credit. And us as Black people, we know that back in the days, people was using their kids' names or their social security cards for PG&E and things like that and never paid the bill and messed up their credit. So I had to preface it by saying you have to spend wisely first. You know what I'm saying? Use your credit cards wisely first. And then when you're able to do that, you can make your child an authorized user and now build credit for them. So that way, when they do turn 18, they have an extremely high credit score, you know what I'm saying? And they have use of credit. So then the companies are saying, okay, well, you've got a 2-year payment history. That's great. So, we trust you now because you've been paying off your credit. So that's what I would say is for those children from my community who are, you know what I'm saying, from places like Richmond or Oakland, I would tell them, look, bro, getting roasted is inevitable. Right? It's going to happen. People going to talk about you. They're going to talk about your clothes. They're going to talk about all of that. The question is, are you willing to do it as in high school or do you want to go through this for the rest of your life? It's going to happen no matter what. So if you say, hey, listen, I'm willing to wear these okay shoes. And again, I'm not saying you have to have the worst shoes. I'm just saying, is $220 a month, because that's how much the new J's come out. If you know what I'm saying, is $220 a month. With that same 220, you can literally, even if you have a terrible credit score, you can literally pay a credit company to come fix your credit in 6 months for $220 a month. And I say that because that's what I did. And it was less than $220. You know, so that's my quick snip of advice.
I have never heard that like analogy. That is so relatable. Like, are you like, you choose, like, you're gonna be an adult way longer than you're gonna be a kid. And because that's really like where it stems from, like the irresponsible spending, right? The insecurity parts. I absolutely love that. MaQueba, how about you? Like, what is a healthy financial habit? And then what is something that we can do to ingrain it into our culture?
I'll answer that, but first, I just want to state real quick, and this kind of piggybacks off of Josiah a little bit, but in terms of credit, I do want you all to know that debt is not necessarily a bad thing. I am one of those people who I don't believe that debt is bad. Like, if you're able to use somebody else's money to free up cash flow on your end, then do it. The only time that debt becomes bad is when you, as a person, do not have the intelligence nor the wisdom to decipher if it is something that you actually need or not. And so if you are out here buying shoes and things that you don't necessarily need, then yeah, debt can be bad to you. But if you are doing it to ease up cash flow and you know how to move and manage your money, it can help you, and you should allow it to. That's what it's there for. And by being able to use that with the proper wisdom and knowledge, you can build credit. And so that was my take on that. And I hopefully that brought a new perspective to you, Stephanie, to your point that you made in the comments. Stephanie was throwing some game in the comments, y'all. She is on it. And so I just wanted to piggyback off of Josiah's point and Stephanie's. And then Star, to your question, what I one of my habits is simply, well, since I made the card game, I make it a point. I have like a money friend group, where literally each week, it doesn't matter what we talk about, but it has to relate to finances. So we can always talk about, going out, or the new clothes that's out there, or my friends have kids. We talk about those conversations, but it's like this one conversation once per week. I make us have a conversation about finances. That's one of the things that I do. But as for you all who are on this call or who are watching, definitely do that. But if you want something a little bit more tangible, what I did to help me when I went from that transition to corporate America, then going to school where my salary dropped, what I did was literally print off my bank statement. And in my bank statement, I looked at the expenses. So that was everything that I spent money on. And I literally went through and highlighted everything that I did not need. Like if I went to Zaxby's to go get a sandwich, or if I went to Target to go get, I don't know, some mascara when I already had some. Everything that I did not need, I highlighted it. And then I calculated it up, all the highlighted items, and I was figuring out where and what I was spending my money on. And I can't remember how much mine was, but I want to say, again, I'm a minimalist, so it wasn't that expensive, but I feel like it was somewhere around between $200-$300. And this was like when I first started school. And so ever since then, I only, like, literally, if I want to go out and splurge on something that I just want, at the most, it will probably be like maybe anywhere from like $10 to $50 a month. And so I would encourage you all to do the same. Literally go on your bank accounts, pull your statement, highlight all the expenses, the things that you did not need to survive. Calculate that up and see what you're spending your money on. And I guarantee that you will be able to cut back on some of those things, or you'll be able to start identifying, oh, do I really need this? Or is it just a want? And so that's what I'll leave you all with.
I absolutely love that. I do. I teach something very, very, very similar um, to my clients in terms of when people come to me and they say, I want to start a business, or I want to start a side hustle because I need to make some more money. I'm like, the quickest way to make some money? Plug that budget. Plug that budget. Go see what you spending all that money on that you don't need to be spending money on. Fastest way to make some money. You'd be surprised how much money you make next month if you don't spend what you're spending. But I think for me, I would say one healthy financial habit is to tailor your budget. Well, first of all, make a budget, but to tailor your budget to your actual personality. And I get this a lot because one of the biggest hurdles with anyone that's on some kind of financial journey is falling off the wheel, right? Like you're super motivated to do it. You start, you go in, and then you kind of fall off, and then you start up again, and then you fall off. So because that happens so often, I try to kind of sit down and say, okay, well, what kind of budget are you using? Da, da, da. And one thing that I find is that people go to Google or they read the Dave Ramsey, the Susie Orman, the this, that, and they make these budgets according to what the financial gurus tell them to do, and it's totally the opposite of their actual personality, their actual spending behavior, their actual money language. And so I just say tailor your budget to who you are. I was telling someone earlier, I have money buckets, I call them funds. So like I have a fund inside of my budget, which is it's kind of, I guess, an adult allowance, right? Because I have one, my husband has one in the same budget. But you do whatever you want. No judgment, no thinking about it, no responsibility. You do whatever you want with this particular fund that's within your budget. Me, I'm saving up for Beyonce tickets. My husband, he likes to buy random, weird, different wild game meats and stuff. It's just like, it is one of those things. And then the other thing is, you just become closer to your money that way. Like once your budget is aligned with who you are internally as a person, your personality, your desires, your wants, you just become closer and you build that relationship with your money. So then it's not this tug of war, this tug of war between you and what you're supposed to be doing responsibly. The other thing is when you're creating a budget, in the very beginning, it's not about being responsible. You're not creating a budget to be super responsible. You're creating a budget to track your income and expenses. Over time, as you build that relationship with your money, and you'll start to say, you know what, I value you more. You know what I mean? I see that you can work for me. I'm working for you, and I see there are different opportunities for you to work for me. And along that journey, your budget will get more refined and more responsible. But in the beginning, don't try to stuff yourself into this. I can only spend 20% on this, 10% on this, 30% of this. I need a house. I need this. I need that. Because you're going to close that budget one day and you're never going to look at it again. So just tailor it to who you are. Don't worry about being responsible in the beginning. Just make sure you're tracking your actual income and expenses. Even if you find out you're spending $600 on fast food a month, that's what the budget is there for, to identify your areas of opportunity. Don't judge yourself. Don't come down on yourself. Just track it. And then over time, you'll become more responsible with your money. So that would be my healthy money habit. And yeah, that would be my healthy money habit. Okay. So my last.
I always tell my the people that I talk with, you never want to react to where your money went, but you always want to be proactive and tell your money where to go. So that's the reason for a budget. Do not react to where your money went. Just tell it where to go. That's a budget.
See, that right there, that needs to make it to social media on a meme, okay? That's memeable. I don't even know if that's a word, but that needs to make it to social media right there. I like that. Last question, we'll start with you, MaQueba, if you don't mind. What does your business or you as a person do to help others build wealth?
So I kind of answered this question in the beginning, but I'm really big on having conversations about money, and just being where I was when I made the switch and income dropped. I literally sat down every day and asked myself questions as to how I could make it through these next few years without a struggle. And so I created a 69 thought-provoking flashcard game, whereas various questions in regards to income, savings, debt, credit, expenses, savings, like all topics that you can possibly think of. So I have that financial flashcard on there. I also have a financial planner. So if you like to like literally write out everything, you can do that. I also have a digital version coming out with a financial app that where you can play the game, where you can also get resources as a one-stop shop. And you can also play the game, have the resources, and then you can also discuss with different people on how you can make your expenses together more complete. And so it's like building your community for your money team. And then the newest product that I have coming out, which is about to be on pre-sale starting next month, is a kids ATM. And so it's literally built like an ATM. They get their own debit card. They got to put in a PIN. They can withdraw money, put money in. And so it really helps them. It teaches them how to go about, receiving money, getting money once they save it, putting it in the ATM and different things like that. And so that's what Financial IQ, the products that we have, and the purpose for that is to really help you all to have those conversations, but then back it up with showing you all at least how to practice that a little bit with the app and with the financial planner. And so, yeah, we do have the discount code going on. So all products, not just the flashcard game, is at 15% off. And if you all want to hit me up later, whether it be to have conversations about money, to keep it going, please feel free to do so. You can follow me on social media at FI Questions, where topics about money will have those, discuss different things. You'll be asked different questions. And so if you just want some money things on your timeline, feel free to follow.
Perfect. Josiah?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of different things that that I do in order to help. But first off, FYB. You know what I mean? Fire your boss. When you talk about trying to make money, I had this wise word, and it came from a book that I read. I can't remember, but it said that if you don't work for your dreams, someone else will hire you to work for theirs. You know what I'm saying? And so the first thing you have to know is that you have to realize that you're the most important person to you, period. Before we talk about making anything money, you have to realize how important you are to you, to your family, to your generations. So that's the first and foremost thing, is that we try to make sure that we get people to understand the value of, sorry, my dog again. No, sorry, but we have to teach people the value of themselves, because it's crazy. You would think that, like, bro, everybody knows how important they are, but they don't. They really don't, because if they did, they wouldn't put themselves in the positions that they're in. So, for example, I said, it's a lot easier to say, oh, I make $20 an hour, than it is to say I sacrificed an hour of my life that I'll never get back for $20, right? So when you put it from that perspective, it makes a person say, whoa, like maybe $20 an hour ain't enough. You know what I'm saying? So what we try to do is we try to make sure people understand, look, bro, nobody is going to look out for you more than you. So start with yourself. And once you realize how important you are and the value that you have, then you can start talking about, how can I use this to work for me in the future? How can I make sure that my family is set based on what I value? You know what I mean? What we value. But I can't teach you about how to make money if you don't know that you're important. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to show you the steps to make money, and then you're going to settle for the quickest way, to make money. I mean, Queen said she said she went from making $65K to making $10,000. But that wasn't just like that was an investment that she took of $55,000. She sacrificed $55K now to put herself in position to be able to make $1 million down the line. right? But if you don't understand your value, that person is gonna say, "No, I'm gonna stick with $65,000 because that's where my money's at. That's what's gonna pay my bills," right? So before I go anywhere into teaching anybody about economics, I have to teach them about themselves and understand that they're better than where they are. That's just what they chose to do to put them in that position. So now we can start to say, now that you understand how valuable you are and what you mean to yourself, now you can start working towards, being successful and getting a better job or creating a company or becoming a real estate investor. So that's what we do as FYB. We tell people, listen, you're the most important person. Fire your boss. You don't have a person that's a boss. You have a supervisor. And those are two different things. A boss, think about this, like in prison, how did the prisoners respond? Yes, boss. No, boss, because they didn't have a choice. They had to do what their boss told them to do. But when you have a supervisor, you're still responsible for the decision. You just know that there may be some consequences that come with that decision, but it's still your decision nonetheless. If that way you can say, man, I like what you're doing, but I don't really want to partner with you in that sense. I don't like what your organization is representing, so I'm not going to partner with you. But when you start to say, well, I work for somebody and this is my boss and this is my boss, you're devaluing who you are and what you have the ability to do. So that's what we do at FYB. And we just try to encourage people to understand how valuable they are. And once you teach them that, then you can start talking about finances. Like that's when we start talking about, telling them about real estate, telling them about businesses, entrepreneurship, talking about taxes, how important it is to, like Queen MaQueba said, talking about, the tax write-offs of owning the property, you know what I mean? And I'm learning that now, you know what I mean, about the tax write-offs and things like that. So it's crazy because, I'm on track to try to get to $1 billion. That's my goal, is to get to $1 billion. And what we're doing at this point is kind of like publicizing that track. You know what I mean? A lot of times you go to these forums and it's always after they've made the money when they tell you all the steps that they did. But what people are witnessing right now is they're witnessing what we're doing as a group to get to that $1 billion. And we're not afraid to say, hey, listen, I don't have all the answers, but I can tell you what I do know. And hopefully it'll help you, because there's no cookie cutter way to become a billionaire. Everybody got their money differently. But trust me, there's more than enough money to go around. I believe that.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. And you touched on a lot of it. I think like so much of what I've heard you say tonight was like so like centralized on mindset, which I feel like nobody wants to acknowledge is like the number one thing when it comes to wealth building. Everybody wants the tools and the tricks and the resources, but the mindset is like the biggest. So I love that. For me, again, SHEbuildingHER is a financial consulting agency, and so we offer a multitude of resources to help with the wealth building journey. We do like quick fire consultations, which are called prosperity calls, or 45-minute prosperity calls. If you just need someone to guide you, like oh my God, I have this or that, and I don't know where to start. How do I go about this? I have a private stock investment group for women. It's called PSIG, where we teach women the ins and outs of long-term stock market investing and how to pick a strategy, what strategies are out there for you, and the difference between investing and trading, right? Because I'm not a trader, I'm an investor. And then we have what's called the STAR method, which is a bi-monthly investment report. And so a lot of women come to me and they're like, listen, I don't have the time, capacity, or I simply don't want to know the ins and outs of the stock market, but I do want to make sure I'm actively investing monthly so that, my money will grow for me, for my kids. So we have a bi-monthly investment report called the STAR method that gives you guidance in terms of what stocks to buy every month, or what stocks to consider buying every month, some strategy behind it, what it'll do for you, why we chose them, try to diversify your portfolio amongst many industries, things like that. And then we have a ton of DIY and digital guides available. And we also do budgeting sessions, which are like 3 hours long. They're called power sessions. So if you're trying to budget towards a specific financial goal, we also do power sessions to help there. And so that's, a pretty good synopsis, but you could always go to www.shebuildingher.com and all the resources are there. Our signature services are there, DIY guides, all that good stuff. You can, again, follow along at SHEbuildingHER_CA on Instagram. And all we do is talk about money there. So you will have ample opportunity to learn. Today for Juneteenth, I just released a list of Black-owned stocks to consider investing in, just to bring back the power of the Black dollar kind of thing. And then I know, Josiah, you want to say something, and after, Devon, if you want to pop up here and maybe take any questions from the audience, close us out, things like that, we'll be ready to roll. Josiah?
Yeah, I forgot to. I talked about the FYB. I forgot to pub. So we do what's called. The reason I said that, we give information, as we go, is that we do what's called Wise Word Wednesdays. Every single week, the FYB team, we post on social media. It's just a 1 minute clip, or sometimes it's shorter than that, and just post something that they learned, whether it's that week, that month, that day, that year, whatever. So we posted every week what's called Wise Word Wednesday. You could use hashtag Wise Word Wednesday. This month we're partnering with, IMI and basically doing, Black Future Month. So BFM Wise Words as well. You can use that hashtag, but in doing so, what I specifically have tried to do within those wise words is I support Black businesses as well. So what I do is I actually feature another Black business. So for instance, the shirt that I may be wearing during my wise word, I purchased that and I tag them. Hey, purchase, the shirt is from this particular person. So that way it's generating business for them. Not only that, but again, like I said, in my education, I'm getting behavioral science and gender equity. So in my wise words, I try to intentionally use Black women in each wise word. And that's something that's been very challenging to do. So like my wise words are kind of like, it's like a production almost essentially that I do, but I try to always make sure that I'm using a Black woman, because most of the time when we talk about motivation or we're talking about encouragement, it's very difficult to find Black people in the background of those videos or in the background of those movies, specifically Black women as well too. So not only do I try to promote local entrepreneurs, specifically Black businesses, by featuring their t-shirts or things like that, but I also intentionally try to put Black women in those videos in a positive light. So that way people can see it's not just Black men being successful, it's not just men being successful, but put up our queens as well too, because it's important to have that representation for Black women. So you can always find us on social media using the hashtag Wise Word Wednesday. For this month, we're teaming up with IMI. So this month it's BFM Wise Word, Black Future Month Wise Words. And then also follow us on Instagram, _fire your boss on Instagram, or follow me personally on Instagram, JoeSpider_FYB, and I'll type those in the chat there. But basically, we're trying to help show people that this is the way to be successful from our definition. And if you want to do it, you can also put in a Wise Word Wednesday. Just use the hashtag BMF Wise Words or hashtag Wise Word Wednesday, and we shout you out too.
Gems on gems. Let's give folks a round of applause. Like Star said, if y'all have any kind of like last minute questions you want to put in there, or even affirmations, things that you just really appreciate, feel free to put that inside the chat. I know for me, something that I definitely take every time from Josiah's story is the power of valuing and loving yourself, right? So making sure that you put yourself in that center and don't let a boss or anyone else or a supervisor put a value on you. Love hearing the long-term investment strategies that Ms. Star always talks about, is getting into the stock market, not just as a as a person who's into stocks, but as a long-term investor to create that wealth. And of course, Miss MaQueba, we've been doing a few things. So love the gamification of what you're teaching, and just let's talk, right? Let's just talk about money. Let's just talk about wealth and make it normal. Let's go to the barbershop and talk about stocks. Let's go to the hair salon. Let's talk about real estate. Let's make this a part of the culture. So I really appreciate y'all. Thank you for tuning in. And the chat was popping off. Stephanie was dropping some gems in here. Lou was doing her thing. Denise and Claire. So I love that, y'all weren't just sitting on the sidelines. Like, y'all were putting your own nuggets in there. Y'all were asking your questions. So much love. So just as a reminder to kind of wrap us on up. So again, we are in week 3 of Black Future Month. Next week is going to be the last but still powerful week focusing in on Black love. On Thursday, June 24th, we have a paint and sip, adults only. That's going to be sponsored by Spill It, the card game, and also Romay, a painter out here in LA, is going to be painting live as well. So if you have a loved one, or if you're trying to get a loved one, or if you just want to be in the vibes, feel free to tune in. Mondays, we do our social media challenges. On Tuesday, like Josiah does, we're trying to support Black-owned businesses, and it will be always on the theme. So we're going to be supporting a Black-owned business that supports or promotes Black love. Wednesdays, we have our Wise Word Wednesdays hosted by FYB, Fire Your Boss, They Fresh. On Thursday, we have our squad activities, just something to do together. That Thursday is going to be a paint and sip. And then we always end the weeks off with a Friday game night, bringing the folks together, whether you want to play Financial IQ, Trap Wars, Brilliant or BS, play Blackopoly, or Black Wall Street, the board game. There's tons of Black games out there to bring the family together. If you want to see a list of the other events happening, if you want to see a full feed of all the Wise Words Wednesdays that are popping up from across social media, you can go to junebfm.com. If you're not registered for Black Future Month, you can register there, and as well as all the other activities, all right? And let me open it up for the last, see if there's any questions. We see a thank you. Of course, Lou, we appreciate you. Stephanie, thank you. Of course, learn, grow, spread it, right? Don't keep this information to yourself. If you learn something today that you think you're going to actually adopt and take into your life, tell one person, right? Tell your mom, tell your dad, your auntie, your cousin, your sibling, tell at least one other person about it. All right, everybody good? Josiah, you good? Appreciate it. Miss MaQueba, you good? Cool. Star, you good over there?
Yes, thank you.
Of course, thanks for hosting. Thank y'all for dropping the gems, and everyone else, stay healthy and happy Juneteenth.
Y'all have a good one. Thank you.
Well.